despite what you do, there are still going to be men who are going to simp and spend all this money and still be providers despite your lack of traditional nature. They're still going to do it, right? Because they still want you, they still want to get with you. They've sort of accepted the new social order, the new order. But what I'm pointing out is that I don't think that that's a fair shake for men. And I think it's, in addition to that, despite them accepting the unfairness, from your perspective, why do you demand traditional treatment from men when you're not a traditional woman yourself?
Well, like I said earlier, if my partner wanted me to stop, I would.
That's not what I'm talking about, though.
So what are you saying? That I'm just not traditional, so why do I want traditional?
I'm asking how you reconcile it. Like, okay, you're like, here are my standards for a man. He has to give me chivalrous traditional treatment, right? Is that true? Like, for example, if a guy took you on a date and he was like, 2 checks to the waiter, and you had to pay for half of it, would there be a second date?
No.
Okay. So you have this...
If he asked me on the date, no, there wouldn't.
Okay. Right. But you do acknowledge that people will go on dates, and oftentimes it'll be the man who asks, and they will end up splitting the bill, right?
Yeah.
It does happen.
Yes, it does.
Right. So I'm trying to understand, like, this gendered expectation that you have.
Well, the way I was raised in my family, my dad was a provider.
Okay.
And
was your mom a
he taught
hooker?
me, no, but he
or sorry,
was still
not
the provider.
was she involved in sex work?
No.
Okay.
He still provided, and he
Despite-
taught me that my partner should provide. That's what
Hold
I
on,
grew
wait.
up
So
on.
your dad's a traditional man.
Yes.
He's a traditional man, took care of the household, and he taught you that. So it's interesting. Women, when they're being raised, they're told, here's how men should treat you. And boys are taught, here's how you should treat women. But you don't hear as much pressure on, here's how women should treat men. Here's how women should conduct themselves. I find that interesting.
But just because I do OnlyFans doesn't mean I'm treating a man wrong.
Does your father know that you do?
Yes.
And he's okay with it?
Yes.
He really? He
Yes.
has no quarrel with it.
He's supportive.
Is he a provider?
Yes.
He lives locally, or
Yes.
do you live with him?
Right now,
Do you live at home?
yes. I just moved back here.
Do you pay rent?
Yes.
Why the need to do sex work?
Right now?
Mm-hmm. You've got
He-
a roof over your head, probably food, right?
Yes.
But I mean, so he's totally cool with it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a provider, but I don't think any father
when
should
you're,
be okay with their
you're-
daughter doing.
Yeah, when you're doing this, right, on OF, there's a live chat, right?
A live chat?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. My one challenge that I always try to give to a woman who's on OnlyFans who says her father's okay with it is to remove themselves from the video, right, and just say, hey, Dad, this is what my live chat is. Read my live chat, right? Only my live chat. You can't see me, right? During one of my streams. And then, hang on. I just would like to know if your dad read just the live chat, right? A live chat of you doing one of your streams, if he would be for you doing all after that.
Well, my dad knows what OnlyFans is. He
That's
knows
not my
what
question.
It's about.
That's not my question.
Like, I'm
If
pretty
he read
sure he
one of the
knows
live chats,
about what goes on in the
if
chats.
he read one of your live chats, right, just the live chat, do you think that he would still be for it?
Yeah, because he
Yeah.
already knows what it's about.
Okay.
My parents are
You do it under his roof?
supportive.
You
No.
make the content under his roof?
No.
Where do you go?
I have a studio. So,
Yeah. I want to ask you a quick follow-up question. So if there was, say I was a guy who was living in my parents' basement, didn't have a job, was broke, a bit overweight, a little bit of a pussy, like couldn't really protect, but I was sitting there saying that I deserve
Talking
a
shit
woman.
about me, bro.
But I was there saying that I deserve a woman who is going to cook for me, clean for me, have my children, and do all these traditional feminine things, but I can't do any protecting or providing. Would that be a reasonable thing to expect?
No, but I'm not saying that there's nothing I can bring to the table.
I mean, I actually understand your argument. It's actually a pretty good one. So your argument here is just like, look, if I expect traditional treatment and a man's willing to give it to me, right? He's the one who's reaching out to me. He obviously clearly knows what it is that I do. That's on him. That seems reasonable to me.
Yes.
Yeah, that seems totally reasonable to me. I look at this from a different angle and get your guys' input on this. The angle I look at it as is, from my perspective, you just women who are on OnlyFans and moving into work just kind of whittle themselves out of the gene pool ultimately. And what I mean by this is just this. Your selection sample size is going to be less than other women, right? So even if you're really, really, really pretty, there's lots of really, really, really pretty women who don't do sex work. Mm-hmm. So if you were a traditional man, let's say you were very staunchly Christian, believed in Christian ethics, this type of thing, and then let's say you kind of absorb some of the more red pill ideas of want to have a nice body and I also want to have a lot of money and this type of thing, but I'm going to keep these kinds of like principled underpinnings to go with it. Seemingly, according to the data that I've looked at, women really like those types of men, right? Really, really like them. But if you were one of those types of men, why would they ever choose you? Well, if the available kind of pool that they can choose from is you minus the work, wouldn't they go for that? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So from kind of
judgment,
so kind of from my perspective, it's like it seems like you're setting your feet on fire to warm up your hands. Right? Yeah. It's like, it just seems so silly to me. I actually don't really understand it that
I just
well.
never want to rely on anyone to provide for me or take care of me. I want them to want to, but I also don't really care. I think that I can take care of myself, and
you know what,
I don't really care about a man who like provides for me, and I don't expect that. Or
you know, it's really funny because in the role of traditional, and when I think traditional, I think Christian foundation, Christian ethics. That's, for me, is what tradition means. If I got really sick, my dad got really sick. He had multiple sclerosis. My mom took care of him for 25 years.
Dang.
I would like to think that if I got really sick, my wife would take good care of me.
I hope so.
Right? I'd like to
I
really
hope
think
so.
that she would, because she would, right?
Yeah.
She just would. So when this idea comes up of like, I don't need nobody, I wouldn't feel any shame by that.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that. I mean just money wise. Like if I need help, I would absolutely ask for help, but I just want to be able to provide for myself money wise in all situations, especially if my significant other were to die.
I totally understand. I'm not even kind of beating you up on that. What I'm saying is that if the kind of like underlying idea here is I want man who has these qualities, right? He's dependable, he's emotionally stable, he has a really good ethical foundation, and he works really hard on himself, right? And all of that is going to be kind of put to you. You get to have access to that, right?
Yeah.
But he also has a selection now, right? He has a selection, and he can choose from the multitudes of the beautiful women who are available. Why would he choose the one that did sex work?
Yeah, and I honestly, if that's not what he's into, then he absolutely shouldn't, and he shouldn't feel like he has to.
So when
it's up
Brian
to you.
asked this question, traditional behavior for traditional behavior, what he's really asking you is like, if the expectation is, I would really like to have a guy who's like that, it seems like you're shooting yourself in the foot to get that guy because his selection size is much larger, right? That just kind of stands to reason, right?
I guess I'm just glad.
But
that
what's
that's
really
not what I
funny is
want.
that almost every girl who's on OnlyFans, right, even the bored ones like her, almost all of them say the same thing, which is that they're going to get that guy. That guy is for them, and they are going to get him. And then you fast forward 20 years, right? At least from all the women I've talked to, they don't get him.
Womp womp.
You can say womp womp.
Literally.
I mean, maybe at 40 you'll go back and re-toilet paper your dad's house. I don't know. But for the rest of us who live in reality, right? The reality is that really high status men don't want to date
glad I don't live
Like,
in your
that's the reality.
Like, I'm living in a really happy little reality where there's no judgment. I don't give a hoot or a holler or think about that stuff. Because if I find the guy that I want, I'm going to figure it
it's
out,
something
and
that's
he's not
very
the guy
actually
for me
common
if he cares
with
about
young
my
ladies,
job.
especially young ladies who come on this podcast, is that they're saying, yeah, but I'm happy. That's because you're young and you're in a stage where you're in your most attractive years, and you'll get guys who will just simp for you. So if you've got
if I
guys
can't get a
simping
guy, I'll
for
get
you
a
all
girl.
day long on the internet, then it's going to boost your sense
Do you know
of
what the
self.
rates are for lesbian divorce?
I don't want to get married.
Very high.
I want to live the
And
rest of my
domestic
life happy with someone.
Yeah.
I don't need to get legally married to live the rest of my life happy with
Let's
someone.
just say it's common law. It's the same thing. Just you cohabitating.
You know, for me to find a man that is okay with me not legally marrying them, like, I feel like that's just
they
as
would all
hard.
be okay with that. It's like the biggest risk factor for men.
Really?
Yeah, the biggest risk factor for men is legal marriage.
Every straight man I've ever been with, which is the first 2 boyfriends I had, they were not cool with me not wanting to get legally married, and I don't know. I don't know. I'm
But did you say, okay, we don't have to be legally married, but I'm going to be exclusive with you forever?
And have kids.
Yeah, that's a whole different.
I mean, I'm not having biological kids
Why?
because I hate babies. I really, really don't like. I love other people's babies, but to have a baby, I don't think I'm like. I don't think I have enough patience for that.
She's self-aware.
So you want to adopt adult kids?
No, I grew up my whole life raising my little siblings, and
No, but
they
she
were
said she didn't want to have biological kids.
yeah, like babies. I don't want
Yeah.
a baby. I want a toddler,
why I
like
was-
2.
Well, you said you hate babies.
Yeah, that was pretty harsh. I don't know. I just kind of said that so that you guys could be like, this girl hates babies, you know?
That's going to be a really good thumbnail.
But yeah.
Do you think that you
She
hate
hates
babies, or do you
babies.
think that you just
She
love
hates
being able to do what you
babies.
want all the time?
No, actually, I wanna. When I do decide to have a kid, I'm gonna adopt a kid, and then I'm going to like live out where I'm not saying where, but I'm going to move, and we're just gonna. It's gonna be me and them against the world, and we're just gonna
So you're just
travel
going
a
to adopt
lot.
a few kids, move into the woods, and just go for it.
Is there going to be a sewage?
Absolutely, there is going to be so much sewage all around me, dude. I love trash. Come on.